Martin Gardens. We're down at the bottom of the garden in a kind of a light shade situation. And we want to talk about Udo, Aralia cordata, Japanese spikenard. So the ginseng family is actually the Araliaceae, the Aralia family. And the Japanese in particular really like to eat the young growth of anything in the ginseng family, which includes lots of quite prickly, thorny shrubs like Siberian ginseng and other species of acanthopanax and different woody Aralias. All of them, the young shoots are eaten. But in particular this Udo, they like to eat the young shoots, but they have to be blanched. So this is a relative of our spikenard, Aralia racemosa, which is a big herb that grows in the woods. Later on we'll show a comparison of Aralia racemosa and Aralia cordata. Aralia cordata is even bigger. It's like 10 feet tall, 10 feet wide in one season. And it also differs from spikenard in that Aralia cordata, once it becomes established, has runners and makes a colony, which Aralia racemosa, the native spikenard, does not do. So the shoots of this are a very prized vegetable in Japan, pay a premium price for it, but they have to be blanched. If they're green, the flavor is just too strong. Nobody wants to eat it. So, after various experiments, we finally figured out to do it this way. So let's see what we got here. It's just about time for them to be coming up now. That one's, yeah, they could get bigger. Problem is I'm shipping it down to a restaurant. I don't want to just do a shipment every day. These could probably go a little bit later, but we are sending out a shipment of ramps today, so I thought I'd send along some of this Udo. So it's just like harvesting asparagus. You just want to cut as deep as you can. They come a nice pink color. And there are good instructions on how to prepare it, especially in a book called Japanese Cooking, A Simple Art. It's a really terrific Japanese cookbook. So these are the Udo shoots. I don't think there's very many of these being produced in America. If you want to have some for dinner, you can go to the Lantern Restaurant in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. That's where we're sending these. And as I say, later on in the season we'll show you what it looks like as a big full-size plant. Alright, so here we are in late July. I want to look at the same Udo that we harvested this spring. So you can see there's quite a bit of it here. I'm standing in the middle of a big patch of Udo. This is Aralia cordata, and it's just now coming into bloom. There'll be a lot more flower spikes. So one difference between this and the native Aralia racemosa is that in this one the flowers are more terminal, not so much in the axils of the leaves down below, the axils of the stem. Another big difference is that this one spreads by the roots and makes colonies, which spikenard does not do, the native one. So this is easily propagated by root division. If you dig up a root, you see little, it's actually technically a rhizome. You can see little points along the rhizome where it can propagate and make a new one. We'll make a video of that at some point. So this is going to be followed by the same small red-purple berries, which can also be tinctured. And let's see, other differences. Well, we can look up here. We've got a spikenard and an Udo growing side by side, so we can see the comparison. Let's go look at that. All right, so here we have Udo and spikenard side by side. This is the Udo. It's taller, and it can get a lot taller than this. This can get 10 feet by 10 feet if it's happy. And here's the spikenard down here. You can see it's just going from flowers into fruit. So the fruit's more in the axils of the stem. The stem is more purple, and Not completely smooth, but a lot smoother than this stem. The stem of the Udo is very rough. You can probably even see, or we'll make a close-up. It's very bristly and more green. And as I said, this one will get a lot bigger. This one will spread by the roots and make a colony, which this one will not. So those are some of the differences. Both really good plants. This one is highly prized vegetable. We filmed that already, of harvesting the Udo in the spring, and I'm sure this could be done exactly the same way if you wanted to blanch it and get the spring shoots. They wouldn't be quite as massive as this, because this is just not as big a plant as this, but it can get pretty big. So we'll probably film this one more time in the autumn when we dig up the roots and show you the propagation of that. All right, it's the beginning of November and the Udo is starting to die down. So this is Aralia cordata, the Japanese spikenard, the one that's the shoots are blanched and eaten in the spring. I believe I made a video about that. And what I wanted to do here was just show you what the roots look like. We don't actually use the roots for anything except propagation. Can be propagated by seed, of course. Let's see, are we going to be able to get the sky? Maybe not. Alright, so these are some roots, actually rhizomes of Aralia cordata. So spikenard, our native equivalent, Aralia racemosa, is just a single plant. But this Japanese one, which is called Japanese spikenard, Udo, makes colonies after a while. It'll grow as one plant for 3 or 4 years, and then as it gets stronger, it'll start to run. So we're actually in the middle of a colony of this plant. There are about a dozen of them surrounding me, and it's done. So what it has is a rhizome. So these are the rhizomes. So one way to propagate it actually is by sections of the rhizome. So that was a plant. So every one of these nodes here is capable of making another plant. Whoop. And with some of them you can actually see a little bud right there. So that's your typical rhizome. This is not a root. This little thing is a root, but this is an underground stem. That's what a rhizome is. So you can see a little bud there, a little bud there. These are not necessarily going to make new plants, but they will make new plants. I mean, if the whole area is clogged up, it's not going to make new plants, but they're available for the plant. If there's sun shining and fertility and there's no other plants around, it'll shoot up a stem. So I can make 1, 2, 3, 4, half a dozen new plants out of this. So, and this is a very interesting food plant, for sure. Ginseng family. Japanese love to eat it, and the restaurant I work with in Chapel Hill is also very happy to buy as much of this as I can supply. You have to keep it utterly dark to blanch it, and I think we made a video about blanching it, didn't we? Mm-hmm. We put nursery tubs over it. Okay, so that's Aralia cordata.